Hello and welcome to my channel. Yes, you are in the right place. This is Chrissy with brown hair. Thank you for being here. I'm an advocate for OCD, in particular pure OCD, which is the name for the community that lives with intrusive thoughts and mental rituals. It's also the name of my memoir, The Obsessive or The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. I am a certified peer support specialist working with people all over the world as they are working toward recovery or contemplating therapy, learning that they have OCD. I also do referral consultations for therapists if you are ready for treatment and you are looking for a specialist. I run 8-week closed groups, and I also have an online community where you can connect to other people and get support. NoCD, NoCD is an app, and inside this app, you can connect with other people. There's resources, and they also do telehealth, doing exposure response prevention. If you want to find out more about them, go to treatmyocd.com. Yes, I look a bit different. I've been wanting to do this for a while. It is winter here, and I just wanted to go back a little bit to my natural roots. It is a bit of a shock for me. Change is always hard. But I am excited and we will see where it goes. So yes, anyway, today I wanted to talk about a topic that is so important that comes up with almost every single person that I meet. And I hear this all the time in emails, and that is, what if this isn't OCD? Now, I've probably talked about this several times in my videos or just mentioning it when I'm talking about specific topics. But this is a big secondary fear that accompanies OCD almost all the time. And there's a couple things I wanted to point out in regards to this fear, um, just as a way to help you understand and feel a little bit more normalized if you're dealing with this, which it's likely that you are at some point, even if you're not now. At some point when you have specific themes, or just OCD in general, it is hard to believe that this is a disordered way of thinking, that this is disordered and diagnosable and treatable. Why? Because it feels so real. Now, let's go into that a little bit. I may have said this on videos before, but I'm going to say it again. But listen, please hear what I'm saying before you get triggered. It feels so real because it is real. Hang on. Don't think I'm saying your themes are real. What I'm saying is the reaction that's going on with your body and your brain is a real feeling. Panic, fear, the threat of danger. This is a real thing going on in our bodies. And so it's hard to believe that it's not real. When you are experiencing a threat in real life, your brain responds in a way that gets you to move, that gets you to do things that you probably aren't consciously doing. This is called fight, flight, or freeze, because your brain is programmed to keep you safe. OCD acts in this manner, even though it's a non-threat. So it's not really fight, fight, or flee, fight, flight, or freeze. But what we are doing is we are having a reaction to this logically, trying to solve it. I'm having intrusive thoughts about my sexuality. I need to logically solve it. Compulsions, right? Let me logically think about all the partners I've ever been with before. Was I really attracted to them? Am I attracted to men or women right now? Am I having an arousal response? Do I enjoy sex? Blah, blah. All of these are logical ways of trying to solve this, right? But that part of the brain is not interested in logic because it really just thinks there's a threat here. So now it's sending all these signals, meaning every woman you look at or every man you look at, or if you have, let's say you're in relationship OCD, and anyone you look at, you think, oh my gosh, am I attracted to this person other than my partner? Things like that. But your brain is sending all this stuff to you to warn you. I have a weird relationship with the phrase, like, your body is, or your brain is just trying to protect you, and it's doing the, mainly because it's hard for me to go, oh, brain, yay, thank you for trying to protect me, when it's painful, when the protection feels like abuse. So I understand why people say that, but that's a hard thing for me to wrap my brain around, or adopt as a way of looking at OCD. Maybe that will change for me because, as you know, if as you've watched my channel through the years, there are things that I believed years ago that I don't anymore, just because treatment evolves. understanding OCD in my own life and getting to support people in their lives evolves how I think about everything. So, but right now, I think it's hard for me to think, let me have a lot of empathy for OCD because it's trying to protect me. Because, y'all, it's painful, which is exactly what I'm going to go through with my next point. Because this is real, the physical feelings of fear and panic and a threat is real. When you find out that this is OCD, or if you realize, okay, I guess I've been dealing with OCD, you might feel a sense of relief. But quickly then you start to think to yourself, but what if it's not OCD? Boom, there's the secondary fear right there. So now you're starting to do tests, checking, all kinds of compulsions to see whether this is or isn't OCD. But y'all, this is the same as having intrusive thoughts and the same as having different themes. Now, the obsession either is accompanying the original theme or you're moving on to that, which is this cannot be OCD, or I need to find out that this actually is OCD. Because if it's not, that must mean I'm a monster or that I'm in denial. And so now it's okay, well, I need to get a diagnosis. Well, let me tell you something. A diagnosis is not always going to help you because then you're going to think to yourself, well, maybe I lied about my experience, or maybe that therapist doesn't know the whole extent of my story, and therefore they just diagnosed me. But if I tell them this one thing, confession, then maybe they won't. The diagnosis doesn't always help. I get this a lot from people. I don't want to go into treatment until I get a diagnosis, so that way I can really know I have OCD, and then the treatment's more effective. Y'all, if you want to get it, absolutely get a diagnosis. But what I'm going to tell you is a diagnosis sometimes can be reassurance. And as we know, reassurance doesn't always work and it can wear off. There are always reasons to find that this is an OCD. And let me tell you, you can find them all. So the problem that we get in, and I said this in my last video, the problem we can get in here is that once we're getting bogged down with the is this OCD or is this not, now you're trying to figure out whether something is or isn't OCD, and you're doing compulsions around that, which then, of course, as I've mentioned before in videos, if we're relying on feelings, if we're relying on anxiety, they're not always going to work, right? They're going to wear off. And so then we start having feelings of, oh no, I might want this. I might now be accepting that this is the the backdoor spike. The backdoor spike, which is I am, and this can even happen in treatment as you're getting better and or if your compulsions are wearing off. It's the, oh no, now I'm not getting anxiety. I'm not feeling disgust. I'm not feeling repulsion. So this must mean I'm accepting. A couple things on this point. First, the goal is the goal of getting better from OCD is to be able to have the thoughts and not have a reaction. Oops, sorry, let me turn this back on. There we go. And not have a reaction. So this is actually what you want, because typically what you can remember before having a theme that you could have thoughts like that and it probably wouldn't be a big deal. You want to get back to that. So you want to make those things irrelevant. I can have thoughts about my sexuality and now they're irrelevant. Where when I was in the theme and before treatment, they torture the shit out of me, right? So the goal is to be able to get to a spot where you have them, and that can be frightening for you, right? Because sometimes those emotions, sometimes those reactions make you feel safe. They make you feel like, okay, I'm not going to act on them. And this, as long as those emotions are there, I know I don't want it. And that's what can be confusing, because then all of a sudden, if you're in this, trench of like, I need to figure out that this is OCD or not. And that is a secondary fear that's sometimes fueling everything else. You, you're likely going to get stuck because you have to treat that the same as any other theme. And I hate to say this, but you have to be like, this might not be OCD, but I have to do the work anyway. Oh, and I hate saying that because all I want to do is just give you a big hug and say, yes, everything you're experiencing is OCD. But even if I did that, you still wouldn't believe me. You'd maybe believe me for a minute and then you would not believe me later, because that's still reassurance. I think the point of this is I'm sorry that we deal with this to the point of even a diagnosis and someone standing in front of you saying, this is what you have, can still make you spin. It's just not fair. And it sucks. But what I want to tell you is that almost every single person I meet with feels this way. It's part of the OCD pattern, it's part of the cycle. I think I did a post one time on Instagram that was like, you work and scramble until to find out that this is OCD. And you're like, only to then work and scramble to try to prove it's not OCD and you're the exception. This is such a common fear. Y'all, I experience this and I consider myself in recovery. Even though I still live with OCD, I live in recovery because I manage my symptoms all the time, but that doesn't mean the secondary fear still isn't there. I think the difference is that I am so used to that fear coming up with themes that now I just see it as this flag over here, like, oh, there it is. There, that that's over there telling me this. And so then I can kind of safely assume it's OCD. It's almost become reassurance for me in a good way. No, but I want you to know that this is such a tricky secondary fear, and your brain will start to find ways to prove to yourself that you don't have OCD and you're the exception. And I want you to hear me say that. Your brain is going to try to prove that you're the one that doesn't have OCD and you are the exception. And I know that you can resonate with that. When I was in therapy with Phillipson, I mean, I used day in and day out. Every time I went in for the first however many sessions, I would say, I think I'm lying to you. I'm the one that exhibits all the symptoms, but I'm the one that actually doesn't have it. And then I was like, maybe he's just treating me to get my money. You know what I mean? Anything and everything that was going to trip me up. And then I had to finally realize, no, it's the same uncertainty that I'm dealing with the theme. So I have to treat maybe this is an OCD the same way I would treat a theme, which is I've got to make that irrelevant. And that's why I cringed when I said that earlier of like, I have to just believe this may not be OCD, or it might not be OCD, but you know what? I still have to do the work and I still have to apply the treatment. And it worked the same way that it worked for my themes. So with that said, I just wanted to do this quick video to tell you that I know how difficult that this secondary fear is, but also I hear from people all the time, you know, sharing their stories or sharing specific examples, and it all comes back to this secondary fear. It can come back to themes for sure, and a lot of people share that with me too. But a lot of times, people are over analyzing anything and everything, just trying to figure out, is this OCD or not? I'm so worried it's not. And man, can your brain and body trick you into believing that it's not. So my point is, you are not alone. This is common pattern with OCD. It's common to just come alongside whatever other theme you have. And it's likely that even if you switch themes here and there, or no matter what stage of recovery you are, you're going to question, oh no, this isn't OCD. My solution, I choose to believe it's OCD. I was diagnosed by a professional. I read all kinds of graduate stories back when I was getting treatment, and my stories aligned with other people's stories. Now, okay, that doesn't mean that every story you read, every single thing is going to align with your story, or you may not read things about your theme, but usually we resonate with other people's stories. And for me, I choose to believe that is enough. I choose to believe this is OCD, and you can make that choice. And often we have to. It isn't going to come naturally because, again, that becomes part of the cycle. So I hope this helps, and especially going into the holidays where sometimes we all get triggered during these times, and we all can feel lonely sometimes, and we can all just feel wild during the holidays and then the new year to come. So if you're looking for support, reach out. I have an online community. You can jump in and get some support for this month, or next month if you need it. And of course, I provide peer support and referral consultations if you need it at chrissyhodges.com. If you're looking for treatment, go to treatmyocd.com. That's the NoCD, and they also have an app. I will see you later. I hope that you're having a great holiday season if you celebrate.